Hi. Medical writers use a very specific term to describe entry into the field. They call it breaking into medical writing. To me, that's an interesting phrase because I wondered for a while why it's called breaking in, and I like to create my own definition in this sense. I think it's called breaking in because your perceptions need to break a little bit in order to enter the medical writing field. To illustrate this point, I'd like to share two stories about two of my perceptions which had to be broken in order for me to transition into the medical writing field. The first perception that has to be broken is the perception of what a writer does for a living. When people think of the word writer or the career of writing, people tend to imagine this lonely guy locked away in a dark room punching keys on a keypad. This is not really how it works in the field of medical writing because medical writing is extremely collaborative. I like to think of it as the medical writer, putting together um, something like a cake. You have to get ingredients from different people, but the medical writer is the person who mixes everything up and lets it bake in the right way. And this is a good analogy that I like to use to describe the work that I do. I speak with people from varied backgrounds, people with different levels of expertise, each individual who can only offer one specific ingredient that nobody else can offer because of their specific area of expertise. And I need to be the one who puts it all together, mixes it all together, and bakes it the right way. So, this is the first perception that has to be broken. It's not something which is done in isolation, it's extremely collaborative, and communication plays a very important role. The second perception that had to be broken is you really have to find a way to get over imposter syndrome and realize that there are different genres of medical writing and that you need to ask yourself, what are my strengths as a writer? What are my strengths as a communicator? And how can I leverage that to be the best type of medical writer that I can be? To give you an example, let's say you are a very talented opera singer and you see someone on stage performing hip hop music. You might tell yourself, I cannot possibly do that. That's very different from what I do. I cannot possibly do that. And you're absolutely right. You may not be able to do that. However, it doesn't mean that you are any less of a musician. It means that you need to use your own specific skills to create an emotional impact in your audience without trying to emulate the work of another individual. The same is true of medical writing. You don't find the need to read something written by a medical writer and say, this is so beautifully written, this is so nice, this is so perfectly done, the sentences are so cohesive, it's so perfectly put together, I cannot possibly do this. And this is a normal thought to have, but you must remind yourself that this is not really about trying to emulate the work of another writer. It's about finding your niche, finding out about what you're interested in, what you're good at, and settling into it. I found out in my journey that I am good at technical writing and I have a strange fascination with legal language. And so I found my own niche in regulatory medical writing, and that's what I do. So it's really about looking at the landscape of medical writing, so to speak, and asking yourself, where can I build my house on this medical writing landscape so that I can be the best version of a medical writer and I can grow within the field of medical writing. So there you have it. It's called breaking into medical writing because you must break your perceptions about what it means to be a writer and specifically what it means to be a medical writer.